live and online. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Back and better than ever. Sleepless with Steve on your Wednesday evening. Steve Pulaski right here. I was almost going to say behind the microphone, but technically in front of the webcam. Joining me now, these two handsome devils live on Twitch TV, Joe Viso and the inimitable Dominic Guanzon. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Yeah, doing good. Yeah, Joe, looking good there. Finger guns.
Yeah,
We're
no,
good.
I was actually, it doesn't look like for you, but I was pointing up to you to tell you to go first, but you can't see it that way.
Handshaking's illegal. We got to do finger guns now.
Mm-hmm. Every Midwestern dad, just like, yes!
Finally, my time has come.
It is great to see you, gentlemen. And we got a full show. There's no shortage of stuff to talk about, honestly. Movie theaters might be closed, but the advent of streaming services, this is streaming's time to shine. Yeah. And again, you can watch us live on twitch.tv/sleeplesswithsteve. We're live every Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock Central Time, roughly about an hour. We're not keeping strict time, but it's about an hour. That's the benefit of being an internet show. First things first, though, we're going to dive into Pixar's Onward in a minute, and we're also going to talk about some really scary news revolving around AMC Theaters. We'll talk about that in the latter half of the show. But first and foremost, I really want to get this out there. It's kind of a last-minute addition I sprung on you guys. But the Oscar-winning movie Parasite, directed by Bong Joon-ho, now available to stream on Hulu.
What?
Very exciting. I know a lot of people got Hulu. Yes, and that reminds Dominic he still hasn't watched Parasite.
I still haven't seen it. I really want to.
Do you have Hulu, though?
Good stuff.
You have Hulu?
I do. Chelsea does have Hulu,
well,
and if she has it, then that means I have it.
No excuse, gang.
We are. We're going off my dad's Netflix, Chelsea's Hulu. And she's the one that bought Disney Plus, and then I have my computer hooked up to the downstairs TV, so we have YouTube through me. So, yeah,
it's a communal.
Dom's just gonna breeze through tonight's show. He's just gonna go through tonight's show so he can watch Parasite.
It's co-op.
What'd you think of Onward, Dom? It sucked. What'd you think of AMC Theaters? Oh, it sucks. What's happening? Bye. He goes and watches
Yeah, exactly.
But I do think what we need to do, and again, I know it's, schedules are wonky. I think if you try to plan for the future strictly, you're a little foolish. But for next week, I know we already kind of have a movie in mind for next week, what we're going to talk about. But I think Dom should watch Parasite and give even a solo review of it, because I would love to hear your thoughts. I've been dying to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so I know we said Onward for today. I also watched The Platform based off of Joey's secondary suggestion from last week. So I'm very curious to see, now that I've seen The Platform, that's pretty fresh in my mind. I'm curious to see how Parasite handles, how it matches up with Parasite, because apparently there's some similarities, so I can't wait. And obviously I'm just ready for Parasite on its own.
We can talk Platform next week. I would not mind making that segment next week. It's on Netflix. I haven't seen it yet. Looking forward to it. Read a little bit about it after what you said, so I'm looking forward to watching that.
I know nothing about the film. I was just like, I heard that people are watching this on Netflix, and apparently it's really popular.
But Parasite now streaming on Hulu. No excuses, especially in times of quarantine. Stay home. If you're living in Illinois, don't make Mayor Lori Lightfoot mad. Stay home. Keep your ass inside. I want to, I got stuff to do in July, okay? I got festivals I want to go to in July. People, stay the hell indoors if you can. Anyway, so as far as the show goes today, we're going to be talking about Disney Pixar's brand new film, Onward. I saw this in theaters. I feel like I should preserve my ticket now because, I don't think a lot of people got the opportunity to see it in theaters because I think it was out for 2 weeks in America at least. And then it got pulled because theaters shut down. It never came out in Italy. It never came out in China theatrically. So this is going to be a very big bomb for Pixar. This is going to be like a write-off because it just did not have enough time to even have a chance at recouping its budget. But it is available as of April 3rd. It is available on Disney Plus, and I'm really glad they made it available. And we're going to get into talking about that one. Joe, I know you have the trailer pulled up if you want to run that.
Yeah, we're going to play the trailer basically, and then right after the trailer, we'll get into our review. So here is the trailer for Onward.
Happy birthday, Mr. Adult Man.
Oh, Mom. Ugh, gross. What was Dad like?
His beard was scratchy. He had a goofy laugh.
I wish I'd met him.
I have something for you from your dad.
It's a wizard staff.
I wrote this spell so I could see for myself who my boys grew up to be.
This spell brings him back.
Back to life?
He wanted to meet you more than anything.
Holy tooth of Zadar! How did you...
I don't know. It just started.
Hang on! Ah!
Dad?
Just don't top part. Dad, you are in your house. Oh, boy. We've only got 24 hours to bring back the rest of Dad. We're going on a quest. All quests start with the Manticore, the fearless adventurer.
You mean Corey? She's over there.
Quick! Somebody help me! These Griffin nuggets were supposed to go out minutes ago!
That's the Manticore?
You guys are in trouble big time. Get in the vehicle. I'm escorting you home. I'm giving you to the count of 3.
Okay.
Wait, what are you doing?
I don't know.
Oh, son of
I'm looking for my sons.
Oh, they went on a quest. But don't worry, I told them about the map, I told them about the gym, I told them about the curse. I forgot to tell them about the curse!
The what?
Your boys are in grave danger! Hold on! How are your boys doing in a crisis? Oh no! We're dead!
Not great.
I can't do it. We're not gonna see you, Dad.
You can do this. I believe in you. My gut knows where to go, don't you, boy? Yes, you do.
I'm on my way, boys. Just stay out of trouble.
And there it is.
That is the trailer for Disney Pixar's Onward. So you guys both watch it on Disney Plus, am I correct?
Yes, I did.
The only
So
place
I'm
you
one
can
of-
now.
I'm one of the few that saw it in the theaters. So, Joe, I mean, they got the gist from the trailer, Joe, but if you want to give, I always throw it to you for a little bit of a synopsis, if you will, if you want to give just a basic couple sentence summary of it.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. So, Onward, believe it or not, because I've heard everybody I tell this movie to, they're always shocked by it. Onward is a Pixar movie. Everybody keeps thinking this is not a Pixar movie, it's just a standard Disney flick, but no. This is
Guilty.
a Pixar movie. You were one of them too.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign.
The movie is about Ian and Barley Lightfoot, played by Tom Holland, who plays Ian, Chris Pratt, who plays Barley. They come across basically on Ian's 16th birthday. They're given a staff from their father who passed away when only Barley was alive. Ian wasn't even born yet. And basically the staff can actually do a magic spell that could bring their father back for one whole day. Unfortunately, though, they only get half his body back, as you saw in the trailer, where it's only just his legs. And now they must go to find this gem that will basically continue the spell and bring the other half of his other father back. In order to do that, they have to go on this quest and basically try to find this gem before the next sunrise happens, where basically the magic will wear off and they won't get to see their father ever again.
Excellent synopsis right there, Joe. Onward, going back to your earlier point where you're like, people that I've talked to didn't even realize this was a Pixar movie. And I'm trying to think in the last couple of minutes why that might be. And I think it's just because Pixar's been doing a lot of sequels lately. They've been going hard in the sequel game between Cars 3, Monsters University a few years ago, Toy Story 4, Finding Dory, Incredibles 2. They've been going hard with the sequels. And this year, I don't know if Soul's going to come out now. Who knows about that? That was supposed to come out in June. But they were going to give us 2 original movies, Onward and Soul. And I think that's kind of their telltale cue that, like, they want to look back into the original storytelling. And Onward is a pretty good place to start, at least in my opinion. I don't think it stands at all up to the elite tier of Pixar that we've come to know, but I think that it is a serviceable, enjoyable family movie. Dominic, what say you?
Yeah, actually, that's pretty much where I landed as well. I wasn't quite blown away by it, but I always look for, whenever I go into a Pixar movie, I'm like, is it gonna make me cry? And I don't know. Are we doing spoilers on this or spoiler light?
Let's try and keep it spoiler free. If you have to go spoiler light, let's do that with a fair warning. But
sure. And Onward available on Disney Plus now. If you're interested in getting into the conversation, so just we'll pause for 2 hours while you go watch that. But no, yeah, it's serviceable. Really is the best word for it, because I was getting some of them Pixar tears, and I really did enjoy the dynamic between the two brothers. So basically Tom Holland and Chris Pratt. At first I was kind of rolling my eyes at Chris Pratt's character, which is like, oh, okay, is he just Chris Pratt trying to do Jack Black? Which is kind of how it turned out to be, but it was such a nice earnestness, and the fact that he was kind of a nerd as well, being a D&D obsessed
kind of reminded me of his character from School of Rock, but just into D&D.
yeah, exactly.
Very
same
Jack
thing. So that was the angle that actually got me. It's like, okay, you know what? I'm okay with this. I'm good with this. And I kept trying to find like the one big flaw for me. It's like, why am I not falling in love with this? And I can't put my finger on it, which doesn't mean it's bad and or even like below average. I say solid, but I'm trying to figure out, why didn't I love this?
I'll chime in, and then Joe, sure. I want your thoughts. I'll say, because it took me a minute, because the first act of this movie, it got off shaky for me. Mm-hmm. Like, and I don't know what it was. I thought, like, in the beginning of the movie, I felt the characters, even from the trailer, I felt the characters were kind of homely. And like I've never been big into like fantasy movies to begin with, and like, I don't know, seeing elves and unicorns doesn't always really touch my soul in a way. But if there's one big issue I took with this movie, and I did like it, this is probably one of the times I'll just talk about like some of the negatives of it. Maybe this will concretize what you're trying to say there, Dom. I would say the big issue that I took with it is I felt the world didn't make a ton of sense. I thought the world felt kind of underdeveloped in a way. Like, it didn't make a ton of sense to me that, like, how unicorns all of a sudden turned into raccoons when the technology started to come about, like when their world, when magic was lost. That's the whole idea. When magic sort of went by the wayside and industries took over, now their world kind of looks a lot like ours. I didn't really understand that. The other thing I still can't wrap my mind around, it's kind of like the question I have with cars, how cars reproduce from the movie. I still have never gotten the answer to that. The question that I don't understand, and this is a part in the movie, later part in the movie, there's a motorcycle gang it's a fairy motorcycle gang. So it's winged fairies riding motorcycles. They got wings on their backs. Why the hell did they ride motorcycles?
In the most inefficient way possible, too.
Tell me about it. And there's a scene when the motorcycles crash in a really pretty good chase sequence, but they crash and then they go flying everywhere. It's like, man, you guys can't use your wings? Like did the advent of corporate America, I guess you could say, quote unquote, on this magical world take away the logic of these animals? That didn't make any sense to me. That's the only thing. I think the world building in this movie is pretty weak.
That's a good point, because I don't know if you're going to go to Joe, but I'll just say that I had absolutely no idea. I didn't watch any trailers or anything going into this movie. So when I saw that opening, that intro, where it's like, hey, the basic premise is, what if it was Lord of the Rings world, except technology took over and now we're in 21st century present day, but everything is just fantasy stuff. And I was like, oh, you know what? That's super interesting, actually. And then how it switches, it goes into, I understand it needs to be a personal story, a very intimate story, in order to get that typical emotional Pixar hit. I get that. But yeah, you're right. That it didn't lean into it enough, that it kind of felt like wasted potential. And I understand, like, it's a lack of magic, and then they find magic, but I don't know how they tied it together. I do have a few comments on Octavia Spencer's character, the Manticore, but I think we'll go to Joe for that.
What say you, Joe?
Or for anything else in general.
Yeah, I'll start off with just like right off the bat what I thought about the movie. Man, just bottom of the barrel, like bottom tier for me when it comes to this in terms of Pixar films. I was really disappointed with this movie, man.
Wow.
Cause like I was holding out for the longest time amongst everybody I knew talked about this movie. I was like, because once again, I talked to everybody like, yeah, that Disney movie looks okay. I'm like, yeah, but it's a Pixar movie, so they gotta have something up their sleeve. And people always be like, oh, it's Pixar. Well, okay, maybe they would. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie. By the end of the first act, I'm like, oh no, we gotta. this is not looking good.
The audacity of hope.
Yeah, it's just it's dwindling as this movie goes on. I will say that, like, as far as animation, it looks beautiful. It's a beautiful looking film, without a doubt. Pixar is definitely getting much better when it comes to animation, especially to like today's standards. They're just raising the bar. I thought Coco was gonna like be like the best looking Pixar movie, and then Toy Story 4 comes out, and it's like so detailed, so beautiful looking. And this too, like Steve and I, back when this was on Wonk on 89.9. I'm sorry,
89.1.
89.1. God, what am I, an alum or something? But back when we were doing this show on the station, we point out how like Coco looks beautiful and how they're using shadows and all this other stuff. This film also brings that in, and like, so it is a beautiful looking film, but in terms of story and characters, it is so bland. It's like the animators just had fun and they forgot to write a story, like, for most of it, or just really any character development for this movie. Because most of the time the jokes in this movie are just sight gags of, hey, what it would be like if an iPhone was in this world, like this medieval, like, fantasy magical world. It's just like, it's not that funny, and it runs they get it to the ground very quick too.
Yes, and you know where I've seen that before? Zootopia.
Yeah,
it's Zootopia essentially, except
and
instead
Zootopia,
of,
I think, did it better because it still told a story, it told a lesson, it had better characters than this.
Yeah. I even pulled up like a list of Pixar films, and so I said this was a solid movie. I'll say like a maybe above average but like in terms of like Pixar internal rankings, I'm like, no, it doesn't hold a candle to at least half of this list. So I'm like, Toy Story, no. Bugs Life, Toy Story 2, no. Monsters Inc., no. Finding Nemo, The Incredibles. I'll even say Cars had even like the more interesting like
idea
world. Yeah, I'm like, okay, I don't know what you're gonna do here.
You know what I did? I was talking to one of our mutual friends, Joe, when Onward came out, back when the world was still spinning, and we were talking about, her and I were kind of discussing. We're like, because she saw Onward, and she's like, what'd you think of it? We were talking, and I said I did the impossible. I tried to rank Pixar movies.
Oh, it's so hard.
So you know how I compromised with them? What I did, I ranked them into tiers, into 4 tiers. And a couple I excluded, like A Bug's Life was one of them. There was another one, too, that I excluded. Just because I hadn't seen them in so long, it would be unfair to rank them that way. Toy Story 2 was another one. It's been at least 12 years since I've seen it, so it's not fair to rank it. I would put, and how I separated the tiers, I said Tier 1, excellent, exceptional. I would say that's your Toy Story 3. I would put Cars in there, too. I really would. But that's your Toy Story 1. That's like the elite tier of Pixar. Then I said Tier 2, movies that are very good to great. I would say Coco, Incredibles 2 even. I would put those movies in there. Then I had Tier 3, which was like good. That's where I would put Onward, alongside Cars 3, Monsters, Inc. I'd even put Monsters University above Monsters, Inc., but that's an argument for another day. And then Tier 4, there's not many in Tier 4. Tier 4, I just put like ones that I did not care for, which is really only Cars 2 and The Good Dinosaur.
Yeah.
Which are those two. Those are the two that are still at the bottom for me.
Yeah.
But I would put Onward like adjacent to Brave, which is another movie that like is good, but it just doesn't have the gravitas, story-wise, character-wise, that we've come to expect from Pixar.
And let me make it clear, too, like, when I say bottom of the barrel, bottom tier for me, it's the same thing with your tier list, where it's like, saying that this is like a low tier Pixar movie, it's still Pixar at the end of the day. Like, it's not bad. It's not I forgot the people that make Despicable Me, but that studio, which Illumination, which most of the time, like whenever they make movies, I'm just, you know, totally just not with it at all. And just
I'll watch
hate
Onward
it.
again in a heartbeat.
A
over
Pixar whiff. I think I said this in my review too. A Pixar whiff or third tier Pixar is still better than like most animation studios' marquee summer release.
Absolutely.
Woody Woodpecker.
Oh my God! This is the
that
Godfather.
doesn't even belong in that movie. Doesn't even belong in the same sentence as Barrels, but that's neither here nor there. No, but that's the thing. Like, this is still better than like The Secret Life of Pets 2, which wasn't a bad movie.
Yeah.
But like this, it's still above that. What saved it for me? Because I did like Onward. I would recommend it. What saved it for me? And maybe, Dom, you can piggyback off of this. What saved it for me was the emotional resonance. About an hour into the movie, I'm thinking, like, this movie, I wonder if this movie is not going to have that emotional impact that I've come to expect. But then with the third act and the way that the brothers came together, and there's a really big moment of self-sacrifice on part of one of the main characters when it comes to the father that I did not foresee. And that maybe it took a little longer to build than it should have, but I thought the way it was handled was a saving grace, because I was, as a star rating's meaningless, but I was teeter-tottering between a 2.5 and a 3 stars. That pushed it over the edge for me, was that emotional climactic finale with the brothers and their father. Dominic, what do you have to add off of that?
Yeah, that's not to just be in complete lockstep with you, but yeah, that's pretty much where I landed too. It's surprisingly, it's one of those few movies where I actually was like, I start down here, and then it actually does get better as it goes along. At least, yeah, you're right in terms of that emotional resonance, because it did hit me at the end. I was like, there's that, there's some of that Pixar tears coming through, and I wasn't like actually, I don't think I actually generated any tears by the end like I did in like Coco or Toy Story 3,
Sure.
but I was like, I'm feeling it there. So I have a feeling, there's absolutely zero evidence to back this up at all, but I have a feeling, you know, the director Dan Scanlon, I've not heard of him personally, but I feel like, you know, he was looking at it, maybe looking over the whole work, and maybe an executive went up to him and was like, okay, do you feel this is good? Are you on schedule? Do you need to redo anything? It's like, and then he like takes a deep breath and goes, I think maybe, and then he thinks of that ending where it's like, no, I nailed that. I nailed that emotional resonance. You know what? We're good to go. We're right on time. I don't know what this flu thing is, but we're good to go. Send it to theaters. But
no, it sticks the ending. It really does. I thought, at least, because the whole movie is kind of like a madcap quest. Like, it's a road movie, and Pixar hasn't really, no pun intended, with 3 Cars movies, but they really hadn't done a road movie yet. Like one of those, like a buddy comedy where it's like you hit the road. It's a quest. It's technically a quest movie because it's a fantasy.
They haven't done a vacation film.
I'm thinking maybe Nemo,
yeah.
maybe Finding Nemo, but because they're just swimming, but not really.
Sure, I mean, because, I guess you could say Finding Nemo, but this was like the literal hit-the-road movie.
Yes.
And I think that's what made a lot of us apprehensive, because it was weird to see Pixar go for such a brazen formula right off the bat, because that's a formula. That's an old trope, the road movie. And usually Pixar tries to subvert things in a way, like even Toy Story 4, which I was not super high on, but I did like it mostly. Even Toy Story 4, structurally, that movie's pretty different. Like, or at least it's not like, it doesn't fall into a point A to B formula like Onward does.
Yeah, Toy Story 4, not to tangent, but like Toy Story 4 for me has like some of the best moments in the Toy Story franchise and some of the worst at the same time. But that's like a whole thing.
Yeah, in a way. And I was going to say, too, you mentioned Coco earlier. Coco does not get enough credit for how amazing it crushes that third act.
Oh, yeah. As someone with an aging, like, immigrant grandmother, I'm like, God damn it. God damn it. That's my grandmother. That's Lola. And just the Filipino.
No, I believe it. That had to hit different. I mean, but I remember watching Coco, and it was like, this is really good. But then that ending, I'm like, this is a 4-star ending right here. The emotional climax, how fluid it was. Joe, more of your thoughts though on Onward. What do you think about the road movie formula, and what do you think about where do you think the movie really went wrong in your mind?
I'll piggyback off of what you guys are saying, and I'll go into more of my criticisms. I do actually like the third act of this movie, and it's funny because as the third act was starting, I was like, all right, we're going to have the typical climactic ending. Oh my God, we have to fight this thing. Of course they do. I was like, man, they are just going to do that. And all of a sudden, what you guys are talking about, the self-sacrifice and the way they take this ending and the revelation that basically a character has, I was like, oh my God, yeah, they actually had the courage to do that with a kid's film again. Like, it's like, yeah, and then I thought to myself, this is the movie studio that had the guts to actually do a whole kids movie surrounding death. So I was like, okay, you know what? Props to you, Pixar, that you didn't back down from that. I do like the third act of this movie. In fact, it's the only act I like because for me, the first act is, like you guys were saying, a bit shaky. As we're getting introduced to our characters in the world, a lot of it is just kind of rushed and it doesn't make sense. The unicorn thing you guys brought up, it was like something that immediately stuck out to me. I was like, okay, why are like centaurs, pixies, and all these other creatures able to be like normal human beings, but the unicorns can't talk and they're like trash rodents? But then you have like these imp-looking creatures like golems or whatever, goblins I think they were, and they don't speak English. So I was just like, I don't get it. Like, how does the world of Onward work?
It's the same thing with Cars. How in Cars they have the flies, like the fruit flies in the Cars universe, are like small, tiny cars. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? What?
Yeah, and they never explained how cars. I mean, I joke they're not going to tell you how cars fornicate, if you will.
But that's where your mind goes.
Yeah.
If you like go down the rabbit hole.
But no, the more important question though is like, and it came in the later installments with Doc Hudson dying, the Paul Newman voice character. How do cars die? Like how do they die? Do the batteries go? Do they run out of gas? Like what's the? I mean, is gas the equivalent of blood sugar? Is it just low, or does the battery die?
I think gas is like
or
your
something?
Blood, but the battery is your heart. Like
I
Are
guess.
junkyards funeral homes, and is Mater a mortician then technically? Like
Yeah, you don't get it. You know what I mean? Like that I don't understand.
Real quick,
and like stuff to keep you up at night.
Peter 1151, he's in the chat right now. He's saying, "What's good, my guys? Did I miss the Tiger King talk? No, you did not." But he's asking for Steve's take on did Carol Baskins kill her husband? And he's saying, "Good to see you guys back."
There's plenty of memes. There's plenty of memes addressing that. I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one because I haven't seen the entirety of Tiger King, but social media will spoil it for you. I've seen a few episodes. That's why you're so wise, Dom. No, I've seen a few episodes. I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one, but I appreciate Peter 1151. Appreciate you in the chat. Appreciate you watching, man. But to go forward though with Onward, I had to throw that in there. I did like. I angered the set. No, but to kind of almost wrap up on it, I mean, there's not a ton to say with it. In general, like I feel like there's a lot of other Pixar movies that have left us with a lot more to dissect. But I think the main points of this movie, though, for me at least, criticism-wise, I think the world building is weak. And I think that's part of what makes this movie get off on such a rocky note. But I do think that it is saved mainly by a good cast of voice actors. I thought Tom Holland and Chris Pratt were pretty good, even though Chris Pratt's kind of given a Jack Black-esque sort of role. I did think they were solid. And that brings me to another point, Dom. You wanted to address Octavia Spencer's character. I'll let you in a second. But I really think that the bulk of this movie is rescued by a strong third act. And that's why I ultimately recommend it. So if I could put a bow on even my own thoughts right here, I'd give it 3 out of 4 stars. Again, I'd put it about tier 3 Pixar, somewhere between Toy Story 4 and Brave and Cars 3. A good movie, but it's flawed. And it does have flaws that prevent it from being a part of the gold Pixar canon that we always relate to. So 3 out of 4 stars. Dom, I'd like your final comments too, and also bring up what you want to say about Octavia Spencer's character in this.
Let me first say, and I will, but let me first say that I did appreciate the villain in this movie. I thought it was a really cool villain and how they handled that, and they didn't pull any cheap tricks where it's like, oh, this typical relationship turns into a whole villainous thing with the power, authority, or whatever. And then on top of that, it's like, oh no, it turns out this person was the villain the whole time. No, none of that stuff. It's like, okay, I appreciate that. I think that was pretty cool, just like design too. Let me say about Octavia Spencer is that of Onward and Soul, I did know about Soul. That is the one I'm actually looking forward to because it's about jazz middle school teacher, jazz music teacher, and it's like he's struggling and trying to find his soul. It's like, well, that's right up my alley. That's awesome. And it's like, is this? Correct me if I'm wrong. Looking at the list of Pixar films, would that also be Pixar's first leading African American character, or person, black character, black
Soul,
protagonist? Excuse me.
Yes, I would believe so.
Yeah,
I believe
for Soul
so.
it would be.
Yeah. So so Soul, I'm kind of hyped up for. So then, I had no idea what Onward was even about, who was in it. So when I saw Octavia Spencer's name in the Disney Plus like description, you know how they do like parentheses, voiced by Tom Holland, voiced by etc. I saw the Manticore voiced by Octavia Spencer. I'm like, oh, okay, she's great, she's good. And then when I see her in this movie, it's like, man, why are you so loud all the time? You're like, what is are you, it's like a ADD riddled, like something or other. And she's not a one note character because technically she does go from A to B, but it's like a really super flat 2-note character that's not interesting at all. And it's just like annoying. And whoever, I guess Dan Scanlon was, however he was directing Octavia Spencer, because like obviously we know Octavia Spencer can act and has can do depth, but this character, the Manticore character, had absolutely nothing going for her. She was just completely subservient to the mechanics of the journey, of the quest, and it kind of just like hops on at the end as well. It's like you honestly, we probably could have just left her behind when like her moment is done. Just leave it more to the imagination or whatever. And it was just really disappointing to see, especially with the context of, looking forward to seeing like, oh, good, awesome representation in the upcoming Soul. Whenever that comes out, because I don't think it's making June either, at least in theaters. But the Manticore and Octavia Spencer's how Octavia Spencer was handled in this movie really, really rubbed me the wrong way. Maybe I'm overdoing it, but
I hear you. No, I hear you because like last year, not to go on a super side tangent over here. Last year though, Octavia Spencer was in that movie Ma, which I saw and really liked, that horror movie.
I do need to watch that. She was playing against type, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not only that, that was like her first leading role. Like one of her first, maybe her first leading roles, which is criminal in its own right because she's such a strong actress. But like that movie was really solid for a horror movie too. It was creepy. It was effective. I can't believe people hated that as much as they did. Like I felt like I was the lone defender of that movie. I thought that movie was really interesting. And it was for a longer movie. I think it's like an hour and 50 minutes. For a longer horror movie too, it stays the course. It doesn't get sidetracked. Like every scene almost adds up to a really good finale and a really good overall story. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere yet. I don't believe it is. But I think that was one of Octavia Spencer's first leading roles.
It is on HBO. That's why I watched it recently.
It's good. Right. I don't know if you loved it. I don't know if you liked it, but I mean, I thought it was damn good. I was the only one in the theater when I saw it too, and I'm like, I'm probably gonna like this. I remember getting in the theater and I was the only one in there. I'm like, I'm probably gonna like this movie, aren't I? Because nobody else is seeing it.
I think you're right. Yeah, because I'm looking at her filmography and it's like, yeah, she's not really.
I mean, you think
Shape of Water, she's a supporting
roles.
Character.
Shape of Water, Hidden Figures. Shape of Water, Hidden Figures. Like
Hidden
all
Figures, kind of like, yeah. Technically, she's the protagonist. She's one of the main three, but she shares that screen time, which is good. I like that movie, and she shared it with good actors.
It's mostly Taraji's movie, though. It's mostly her movie, Taraji P. Henson. But I get it; they're like a collective. But she's never been like center stage, like because you think about all her roles, and it's like she's always playing second banana to somebody. Mm-hmm. At any rate, though, Dom, final thoughts on Onward with your star rating too, with your eccentric star ratings.
Hopefully I think I'm gonna have to give. Dude, I think I'm gonna have to give Onward like some really used Goodwill used like 2.5 pant legs for Onward. I can't give it anything more than that, man.
Out of four?
It's
2.5 dads.
It's out of something.
2.5 disembodied torsos.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh boy, Joe, it's all you to bring Onward home.
Oh man. Well, okay, so kind of just going off of everybody else. I basically, for me, like I said, the first act I thought was just hitting the numbers, and then the second act was just kind of also just that. It was just plain. It was just them on the road, and nothing really exciting for me, honestly. I wasn't getting involved with anybody, and like you're saying with Octavia Spencer's character, they run into her, you get into this introduction, it's funny, and it's like, oh, okay, that was kind of funny, but then she sticks around to be a character, and they don't do anything with her. And it's just like, oh, all right. And even the mom, who's played by, oh my God,
Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Thank you. Yeah, Mrs. Lightfoot. I'll just call her because I forgot the actual name. She's not even giving much to do. Both her and Octavia Spencer's character, they are just introduced and they come in at the end just to serve for the climax. Just that's it. They're not really used for anything else. And it's like, man, you could have used that character, especially the mother, to really, drive home this point about the father as well. You don't really get a feel for this family until the third act. Really, you really don't have, like, a feel for anybody, that like, any of these three people.
I'm wondering now, like, how they could have changed, because now I'm thinking, like, did they even need to be present that much? Like, maybe he should have just focused more on what went well, which was the brothers, right?
Yeah.
That was like, that's the heart and soul of that movie, obviously. Maybe just milk that some more. I don't know.
The one thing that was actually keeping me going, though, is the brothers' storyline, at least. At least their chemistry. Like, I was like, you know what? If there's one thing that's keeping me going, is that I do want to see these guys get to meet their father. It's something I could sympathize with. And you understand where both Tom Holland's character is coming from, Ian, and Barley, Chris Pratt's character. You understand where they're coming from, and, like, how each one has, like, basically a different goal in mind when it comes to reuniting with their dad. And yeah, when you get to the climax, it's great. But other than that, yeah, it's just bottom tier for me when it comes to Netflix films. I almost didn't want to finish it when I watched it. I was like, I could just finish it another day. But I stuck through and I got to the end and I was happy I did. For me, I hate to give it this rating because it's like, I can see where Pixar's trying, and they really are, but like, it's a 2-star film for me, man. I just didn't like it at all. I did not have a good time watching this.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Glad you waited. Glad you waited for no big deal. Glad you waited for the surprise Disney Plus release, though.
Yeah, I know. I want to go see this in theaters. I was actually like, really looking forward to this. I was like, man.
Could you imagine sacrificing like your own health and well-being for Onward
by
going out to the theater?
Jeez, I technically did that for a Christian movie the first weekend this was really hitting. Yeah. I mean, so we're really kind of mixed on Onward, though. We're really kind of mixed. I hope Soul winds up getting something of a release. And I mean, if it came on Disney Plus, I'd watch it. But I think it'd be really sad if like Don brought up earlier. I mean, this is Pixar. Soul is going to be Pixar's first film with an African American lead. To see that have to go to Disney Plus, I don't think it will. I think if anything, Pixar will push it back to try to get it
to do. Also, same thing with the Black Widow movie, which is like, oh yeah, Black Widow, Marvel's leading female character, and she gets a Disney Plus release.
I think they're going to do their damnedest to try to get it released in theaters, but it would be really sad if that movie came on Disney Plus. Onward, not so much, but that one would really be sad if it got relegated to streaming.
Two things.
Oh, sorry, Joe, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to jump in because they did release what they're doing with Black Widow, and it's actually, they're releasing that in November, and all of their like upcoming phase 4 that they're on, they pushed that all to next year. Like, they pushed everything back by a year or two. The second thing also, it's Peter Medlin, by the way. That was the Peter. So, hi, Peter.
Oh, it's Medlin. All right.
Doing good work.
Dope. No, the last thing I'll bring up, too, this has nothing to do with our next topic, but I just want to bring this up. Two postscripts, because last week we talked about movies that got delayed due to the COVID-19 outbreak in America and, around the world. Two updates on movies. First off, did you guys know they're making a Bob Bob's Burgers movie that was supposed to come out in theaters in July. Did you
Yeah.
guys
What?
know this?
Yeah.
No.
I didn't know this. I found out like a half hour before we did the show. Well, it's not coming out in July. It's coming out in April of next year now. But it was supposed to come out in July. I hadn't seen so much of a trailer for it.
Huh.
I didn't know that they were even making a Bob's Burgers movie for theaters.
There's a lot of stuff that was supposed to come out this year that got pushed back, and like it was like, wait, that was supposed to come out because like no trailers got released at all. Like My Spy is officially going to Amazon. I don't know if you saw that.
That was
today.
my other point.
Spy?
It's going. My Spy, the Dave Bautista movie. That's going to going to Amazon Prime Video.
The not Stuber movie where he's the
Yeah, not Stuber.
where he's the other spy.
The perpetually delayed Dave Bautista star vehicle nobody asked for. That's what that movie is. At any rate, we should segue into this. This will be the topic of the show. Like I said last week, we're going to try to do one review, one topic per episode. Try to keep it like that. So this will be the topic today. And unfortunately, given the state of the world, it is indeed a bleak topic. You heard whispers about this a couple weeks ago, at least I did. I saw some stray reports and whatnot. Didn't give it a whole lot of credence, but now it's really got picked up by the mainstream media, I guess, when they can fit in all their... I mean, there's wall-to-wall coverage. I feel like we're missing stories to begin with just because there's so much happening in the world. Obviously, a lot more significant than maybe this. But it was announced a couple days ago, I guess more formally, that AMC Theaters, I'm reading the MovieWeb article, the headline, AMC Theaters may never recover and shut down for good. Last week, their credit rating was docked to a CCC minus, and they were originally at a B rating beforehand. And essentially, they were at a B rating beforehand. They been having money problems for quite a while. It wasn't really marketed like this because no corporation is going to market something like this, but AMC Stubs was in a way a cry for help. How the AMC Stubs A-list. AMC Stubs A-list was a cry for help. It was spun as a way to kind of like when MoviePass was dying off, like here's this thing, you can go see 3 movies a week for $20. But in reality, they have not been in good financial standing for several years, ever since really they started acquiring small chain theaters like Carmike and a lot of other theaters and billing them under AMC Classic. Having moved to like the sticks out here in a more rural area than the suburbs I'm used to, you see a lot of AMC Classics out here. You talk to people around the town and they're like, that used to be a Carmike theater a couple years ago. AMC basically acquired a lot of theaters and a lot of smaller theaters, and now they're struggling to return a profit, especially now that cinemas across the globe are closed. We could dive in on this. Joe, why don't you go first with your kind of thoughts on this when you heard this sobering news?
I didn't want to believe it at first, I'll tell you that, because I have AMC A-List, and I thought this was kind of just their rebel against MoviePass. Like, you know, it's just like, oh, you know what, MoviePass wants to try doing this at our theater, let's just make our own thing. I also thought it was the answer for...
And it was kind of posited that way, but it was also a cry for help just because of poor financial standing. Didn't mean to cut you off there, but...
No, go ahead. And also, I mean, I was, like, very happy because, you know, MoviePass was a blessing for me because it was, like, you know, a broke college kid on a radio movie review show that needs to go see movies every week. I was like, man, I gotta find a way to, like, get into a theater without having to, like, you know, cough up, like, $20 just to go see one. And MoviePass was the answer to that, and then eventually became A-List. Eventually, when I did Variety Viso on FM 89, and it's just sad to see this because I mean I've grown to love it, and I've always thought AMC is just like this high class theater that like was always just doing well because it had like the top stuff. It had IMAX, it had Dolby, it had recliner seats, it had like this premium food, the bar, like these premium drinks you can get while watching your film. It was always like, wow, I guess AMC must be killing it in the business because they are just spending money like crazy on stuff like this. And, yeah, and then now just hearing about this, it sucks to hear, and I hope it doesn't happen. I think we just lost Steve. I don't know.
That's all right. I'm here.
I'm back.
Oh, okay.
I'm back.
It sucks to see
Very
because
quick.
I really do enjoy going to AMC, especially the fact that I do have A-List, and I've been enjoying it more lately, and I've been enjoying seeing stuff in Dolby, IMAX, all of that. And just having the access to AMC like this, it would really suck just to see this whole chain go down under because of what I've been basically attached to. And in fact, also, like, just real quick, my childhood, two of my uncles were managers at AMC. So I got to see movies for free up until I was like 10 years old. So like AMC Theaters has been involved in my life for a long time. It's just the only time I really didn't go there is when I had to pay for myself because they are expensive. It's like $13 for like, a 7:30 showtime. And it's like, well, Marcus Theaters or Cinemark is $5 because I have a student pass, or even just $7 at most if I go at a certain time. So as much as it sucks to see AMC going down, I understand why. They are an expensive theater to go to if you don't have A-list and everything. And I really hope they find a way to pull through, though, and just learn from this.
Dom, what say you about AMC Theaters potentially closing, or at the very least not reopening when all this lifts, when all this passes?
Let me put it into perspective here. So you said according to the Movie Web report, S&P Global downgraded AMC Theaters credit rating last week to CCC-.
Yes.
For reference, the United States, the country, the credit rating for that is AAA. And let me tell you right now, financially, it's not great in America.
God, they're grading on a curve, aren't
Illinois, the state of debt-ridden financial crisis constantly every year, every day, Illinois is BBB.
Really?
Now, I understand Illinois, those are like
different metrics because countries versus corporations. But
yeah. But it's bad.
Who did Illinois have to bribe? Who did Illinois have to bribe? My God. They must have been grading on a curve, or they got the answer key or something to get that grade.
Yeah. Sorry. Clear this up for me because I'm trying to look it up myself. But is Cinemark a different entity from AMC?
Yes.
They are competitors.
Yes.
Okay.
Cinemark, Regal, AMC. They're not related. Those are independent of themselves.
Gotcha. Okay, so I grew up a Cinemark kid. In addition with the Tivoli Theater in Downers Grove, that was like the special one. That's our huge one here in DuPage, at least for me. So AMC was like this other movie theater chain that was up in Lombard for me personally, the one near in Yorktown.
I know that one well before they remodeled it.
And so I remember initially going to that one specifically. This is just me, my AMC history. Like, going there in high school. I was like, oh yeah, typical theater, just like Cinemark, whatever. And then during college they remodeled it, and then I was like, man, they upped the price for this, and like the food's not that great. And I had a Hollywood Boulevard right by me before I moved, so it's like. I'm kind of like disillusioned on the whole eat while you watch theater experience. I'm like, I just want to watch the damn movie. I don't want waiters crawling all over me or whatever.
The waiters are so distracting.
Which sucks because like I know they're doing their best, but I really think there is no scenario short of like a pneumatic tube that perfectly brings up to you or whatever. I don't think there's any scenario where a waiter works well in a theater if you really want to go to a theater. I
wholeheartedly agree. I wholeheartedly agree with you there. I had a lot of beef in 2014 when they remodeled that theater. That theater you're talking about, AMC Yorktown. I know we're getting a little local, hyper local here, but it was my same problem. I said the same thing. I said, obviously they're trying to compete because that was when Netflix was really starting to gain traction, at least in the streaming game. They're trying to gain traction in order to make the theater experience different. And I get that, okay? I get the appeal of red leather recliners and stuff like that. That's not my issue. My issue, though, is you're paying a lot of money for subpar food. You don't have as many seats now in the theater because those recliners take up more space than stadium seating. So you don't have that. You got waiters and bussers running back and forth to deliver the food while you're trying to watch the movie. And the other problem, too, and I don't understand this, as somebody who loves to drink, personally, I love my booze, okay? They have bars now in these AMC theaters, all right? Here's the thing. If you're going to pay $13 to watch a movie, do you really want to try, like, get inebriated? That's the other thing I don't understand either.
Depends on the movie, but yes.
But I mean, especially with the prices they're charging for these drinks. I remember the last movie I went to go see at that particular theater. You know how long ago this was? This was I'm trying to remember. Was it 2015 or 2016? It was the year 2016, 2017, somewhere around there. It was the year It came out. Because I went.
2017.
Was it 2017? Yeah, I got screwed up a little bit there, a little discombobulated. I didn't go see it. This is the funny part. I saw 9/11, the Charlie Sheen Whoopi Goldberg movie that nobody saw. That was the one about the 5 people trapped in an elevator in the World Trade Center on 9/11. I saw that. And the only reason I remember it is because I ordered the Pennywise cocktail before the movie. I drank it before the movie. I got there early, and it was Redberry Ciroc vodka with like strawberry puree. It was very bougie. It was very expensive. I had a little bit of a buzz going into 9/11, and it still wasn't good. But that's what I remember, though. But that's what a lot of these AMC theaters were doing. Now, conversely, in my area, in North Central Illinois, the AMC theater out here is for shame. It really is. I mean, it's clearly not been remodeled since they purchased it. It used to be a Carmike theater. It's a mall theater, for one, which I'm not a fan of those to begin with. But they purchased it from Carmike, clearly didn't do any renovations. And the problem I have with that, though, is with these AMC Classic theaters, these ones that are in these lesser populated areas. That's where the AMC Classic theaters exist. They have no amenities, okay? It's stadium seating. It's just basic concessions, go in and watch the movie. That's fine. That's totally fine. But don't charge me like I'm going to pay for what the AMC Yorktown experience is, which is red leather recliners and waitress service. Don't charge me me $8 a ticket then if you're offering the bare frickin' minimum.
I can add on to that too. I mean, if I didn't have A-list, the AMC by my house is the same thing like yours. It's $13 to go see a movie, just standard. No IMAX, no 3D, just
That's
$13.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's like I'm trying to think. Like it's like they didn't think it through, because it's like if I don't want to watch at home Netflix, right? Because now everyone's addicted to streaming, which is fine. That's the way it is. That's just how technology and society has progressed. But like, if I don't want to do that, I would be more attracted to the theater experience. So IMAX, good, because that's like, you don't get that anywhere else. You get that special sound. Like I'm thinking like the Dunkirk experience, where it's like you will never 100%. Get that experience again at home. Like you have to see that in a theater, as well as other kind of movies like that. So it's like, why would you ruin it with all this annoying bougie stuff? Not to harp too much on that slang, but like it's like, what were they thinking? I don't know.
It goes back to, I'll let you finish, Joe. It goes back to the same thing, too, like if you go to sporting events. I don't know if you guys go to many games and stuff, but I mean, I go fairly regularly. I've wound up going to Blackhawks games. I've gone to Chicago Wolves games. I've gone to many a baseball game with my father or friends or whatever. And it's the same thing I say every time we go to the game. It's like, I love a Bud Light, but I mean, $10.75 for a 25-ounce can of beer. Like, you think these people would realize, you think these corporations realize you would sell more beer if it were cheaper, even if it was $5. Even if it was $5, you'd be selling more beer. Same thing with movie tickets. You think they'd realize, these corporations, more people would get to the movies if it was like even $7 tickets, I think would be a step up.
Yeah.
Versus what they ask you to pay now. And like I said, going back to the AMC theater case, because this is the umbrella topic, this is the corporation in question. It's really outlandish, though, that like there doesn't seem to be any pricing flexibility. These low rent mall theaters, or these low rent AMC Classic converted theaters that they bought out that have had no renovations, haven't been touched since Christ lost his sandals, evidently. I'm just saying, we're not on radio anymore. We don't have that many restrictions, but I'm still trying to keep it PG. But you don't have any, you don't have any of these renovations, but you're still charging it like I'm going to the Music Box Theater, like I'm going to Movico in Rosemont.
Yeah. Okay, 3 things. One, because I just saw it pop up. Thank you to Joe Frags for the follow. Thank you for doing that.
I appreciate you.
And then 2, Dom, you were saying how, like, imagine, like, you're going to see, like, IMAX, Dolby, and everything. And that's actually what happened to me when I went to go see 1917. I went to go see it in Dolby, and a waitress, a waiter, waitress, whatever it was, walked in front of me during a crucial moment. So I'm, like, really invested on the edge of my seat. All of a sudden, just curly fries and wings come in my face, and I'm just like, wait, what?
That's terrible.
I just had this. I just had this image in my head of the opening scene where it's like just uninterrupted running
Yeah.
through like a war-torn field and like people charging and whatever. I'm thinking instead of the main soldier dude,
It's just a wing.
it's like a waiter or like bring money and just like full sprinting across a battlefield trying to get you your food.
You'd be watching a movie and all of a sudden it's like I didn't expect Mystery Science Theater Gang to make a cameo appearance. What the hell? You know?
But I mean, even to your point, I mean, like, Classic Cinema by my house is $7 for their full price ticket. Matinee is only $5. Like that's a bargain nowadays when it comes to movie theaters. To the fact that charging.
Why Cinemark's going strong? That's why Cinemark's going strong.
Yeah, exactly. Even Cinemark. The one by my house is $7. My friends. Anytime I go see a movie with my friends, they want to go to Cinemark because they're not on A-list, and I can't blame them. As much as I want to go to A-list because it's like, hey, I'm using my monthly, pass basically that I pay for. I don't blame them. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll pay $7 to go see this movie. That's fine. But whenever I go see a movie of my own, I have to use the AMC thing. But if I didn't have A-list, I would go to Cinemark. I go to any other theater but AMC because, one, the ticket price, $13 just to go see something like that I would even love. I'll even be like, well, damn, I just lost $13. Now it's like I get there, I'm hungry. Oh, I gotta pay $20 for a popcorn. And it's just like it's ridiculous.
What has Cinemark done in the past 10 years? Nothing, right? They've just been going steady or updating.
Not acquire a bunch of theaters. And again, I hate to bring it to radio, but again, I'll let you finish. I hate to cut you off.
No, go on.
No, you're good. Fine.
Because I want to make this point. I want to make sure I don't want to end the show without making this point. Just because radio's close to home, obviously for me, it's my line of work. It's the same problem that iHeartRadio had a couple months ago when I don't know if you guys saw they laid off numerous people. The mistake is the perception, is that people think that it's indicative that radio's dying. Now, you can make an argument for that. Radio's certainly not as prominent as it was maybe 40 years ago. I think that's almost a given. But here's the problem. iHeartRadio and AMC are very similar. They acquired so many different entities, AMC with movie theaters, iHeartRadio with local radio stations. They spent the 2000s acquiring and building their name and getting their name on everything, basically a gigantic pissing contest, so they could own everything. And then what happened was, though, then the bill came, and then they realized we cannot sustain this. So the casualty in iHeartRadio's case, a lot of people lost their jobs. The case of AMC, what it looks to be. AMC might have to start closing or scaling back. The biggest point I got to say about this, though, is it's not indicative of the movie-going industry. It's not because people are not going to the movies anymore. It's the same thing with iHeartRadio. It's not because people aren't listening to the radio anymore. Both iHeartRadio and AMC are indicative of the failure of the gluttonous, like, corporate consolidation. That's where the failure lies.
Yeah. No, I was gonna add on to that. Yeah, my mom, she saw this article because I told her what we were gonna talk about on the show tonight, and she asked me, she's like, "Do you think all other movie theaters are gonna go out of business?" I said, "No, it's just probably gonna be AMC because of what you're saying. They buy a lot of theaters out and they try to just expand as much as possible." I didn't think of the iHeartRadio comparison. That's a perfect comparison for that. But like, people are going to the movies. I know like every once in a while, like we'll see like, a dry spell month like August or even September sometimes.
Sure.
But like, I mean, last quarter, what was it? October, November, and December of 2019, people were going to the movies like crazy. Knives Out and like 1917. Original films have no sequel or attachment, like, prequel, whatever you want to call it. Nothing. And they made a box office killing. Ford versus Ferrari as well. Like, people are going to the theaters as long as you make good movies, of course, but they will go. So like, a lot of people have been speculating. Like, I've seen people comment on the articles on Facebook or even on the websites themselves, like the Deadline article I was reading about this. People were saying, "Oh, this is how like Netflix is gonna win. Like, this is how like all theaters are gonna start going down." I'm like, no, that's not gonna happen for a very long time.
Easy, Howard Ratner, easy. No, it's absolutely the case. It's absolutely the case too. And I mean, even too. Let's say AMC Theaters, as bad as it would be, let's say AMC goes under. The infrastructure still exists. The infrastructure is not going to disappear.
They could be like Blockbuster, where like they have independent theaters at the very least.
Yes, or what's going to happen is you're going to see them maybe potentially sell off. Yeah. And I've read even recent reports too that if they declare bankruptcy, it's not the end. Because there's always, I feel like corporations have a dozen outs before they wind up going to dust.
Like Aeropostale, like declared bankruptcy how many times, and they're still around.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it took Circuit City, I think, like 3 times of bankruptcy before they finally bit the dust. So, like, it's not a death sentence. It's not a good place to be, but I feel like these corporations have so many out clauses or so many different ways of moving money that, like, I don't see AMC evaporating into thin air. But I do think that this, understandably, really drives a knife into an already hurting company. Dom, you have any further thoughts on this as we work to wrap up the show?
Yeah, too big to fail. But yeah, you're saying, Steve, that it's just a giant pissing contest, and yeah, it's pretty spot on because well, here's the thing. Yeah, they pissed on everything, and then when like they just like, hey, come go see our movies at our new swanky theater. It's like, no, you pissed all over everything. It's like it smells like piss. So then now they're like, all right, whatever, fuck it, let's just go to the same theater we've been going to. It smells weird, but it's not piss.
I didn't mean to take that analogy that way, but no, it's true. And I mean, it's really going to be sad though, too, because you know what, for all AMC's flaws, at least on the corporate side that you're coming to light now, AMC, I will give them this. I mean, I was an AMC kid growing up. That's pretty much the only theater we went to. I didn't go to Cinemark until I was about a teenager, and Regal until I was in college. But like, I give it to AMC because AMC does a really good job at like being a go to bat for like independent movies, foreign movies, Christian movies. They do have a diverse sort of catalog. I'll say this much as I do not like the AMC theater out here where I'm at, if it wasn't for the AMC theater, I would really be lost because it's, the other main theater out here is an independently run theater. So you don't get Midsommar. You don't really get a lot of like, a little bit more exclusive, more niche, wide release movies. AMC's the saving grace out here. And in already what I call this area a film desert, it would be a crying shame.
That's the same for me too. Like if I wanted to go see something by A24, like The Lighthouse was not playing at Marcus or Cinemark out here by my house. Midsommar did, but not The Lighthouse. The only place I got to see The Lighthouse at was AMC. So it would suck losing a bunch of theaters by my house that are AMC theaters because it's like, wow, one of my favorite studios that's releasing some of the most original films out there for me is trying to find their films now. I might have to wait until it comes to streaming or DVD.
Totally. But we'll have to see. We're going to keep a close eye on that story. Put a pin in that. I guarantee you it's not the last time we're talking about that particular story. Who knows? There might even be a development come next week for the topic on our show. But guys, again, really great episode. Awesome work. Awesome technical side, too. I mean, the glitch that I left there for a second, that was totally on me. So, Joe, tip of the cap for running the board, as always, being my excellent co-host, my right-hand man, Dominic. You're more than just a handsome face. You're an awesome contributor, too, man. This is a really good show. Next week, I think we're in agreement. We're watching The Platform on Netflix, correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and that will
I'm also going to watch Parasite. And I'm gonna do a little comparison there.
Well, we're going to start the show then. If you're going to commit to watching Parasite in the next week, we'll start the show with your thoughts. I'm not even going to interrupt you. I'll mute my mic. Oh,
Jesus.
You tell me what you thought of Parasite. We will do like a 10-minute thing of that, and there will be some movie news for us to discuss. Again, Sleepless with Steve coming to you live on Twitch TV every Wednesday evening from 8 until around 9 o'clock, I guess I will say. Highlights will be posted on my YouTube channel, Movie Wiz 1, as I think I still go by that, at least on YouTube. If not, like I said, believe me, you'll find it. You'll find us on there. You guys, Dominic, Joe, it's always great to talk to you. I wish you well. Hope your families are all in good health and everything. Good health, positive spirits. That's the name of the game during this time. And again, we'll see you next week. We'll be discussing The Platform, the brand new Netflix film, right here on Sleepless with Steve.
And we're clear.